In the final years of the Soviet Union, everyone knew the floor was rotting. The engineers knew the tractors didn't work. The bureaucrats knew the grain didn't exist. The politicians knew the ideology was a corpse. But because nobody could imagine an alternative, everyone just kept pretending. They called it hyper-normalization. It's that surreal state where you're standing in a breadline, staring at a poster of a bountiful harvest, and you just nod. You accept the fake reality because the real one is too heavy to carry. Does that sound familiar? Because I look out the window in 2026 and I don't see a superpower. I see a 330 million person performance art piece. We are living in a technicolor version of 1980s Moscow, where the lies have become so structural that the truth feels like a hate crime. We used to have maps for this. We used to tell our children stories about the old world, these grim Eastern European nightmares. We've been lied to about the old world. We were told that these dark Eastern European nightmares of our ancestors were just stories to keep children in bed. You think these bedtime stories were designed to put children to sleep? You're a fool. They were designed to keep them awake. They were survival manuals for a reality that was actively trying to harvest them. These weren't bedtime stories. They were survival guides. Look at Rumpelstiltskin. That isn't a story about spinning straw into gold. It's a warning about the nature of the bargain. It asks the audience, what are you willing to sign away when you're desperate? We thought we were just getting convenience, but we were signing over our firstborn child, our lineage. And the Pied Piper? June 26, 1284. It's in the town records of Hamlin. 130 children walked into a mountain and never came back. Why? Because the adults broke the contract. The adults broke the contract. They were so greedy, so morally bankrupt, that they lost the frequency of the future. The piper didn't steal the kids. He just played a tune that was more honest than the lies their parents were telling them. Are we listening to that tune now? Have we reached the point where the mountain looks better than the village? Think about it. And while we're following this music, look at who's leading the dance. We find out, casually mind you, that Ghislaine Maxwell, the premier madame of the global security state, was evidently the most prolific poster on Reddit's World Politics subreddit. Think about that. While she was allegedly facilitating the darkest impulses of the elite, she was also curating the top news for the digital masses. She wasn't just in the room, she was the moderator. This is how they do it. They've weaponized our own biology. They take the left's empathy, that genuine desire to help the vulnerable, and they poison it. They take the right's hatred of tyranny and they poison that, turning it into a paranoid, circular firing squad. They sow the division, then they sit back and watch us fight over scraps of truth that was never on the menu to begin with. We've built our own Panopticon, that eye that follows everyone. And we paid for it in installments. We put Ring cameras on our doors to watch our neighbors, while the devices in our pockets listen to us breathe and jerk off. We traded our personal liberties for the professed intention of security. But the only thing we secured was our own obsolescence. We live in a hyper-consumption economy, a digital gutter where you can order a hit of dopamine via Uber Eats, go to the smoke shop, get some kratom, lose your life savings on a crypto scam, and do it all while you're yapped up on Adderall, SSRIs, and Ozempic while you watch a woman sell her soul on OnlyFans, all before your morning coffee. We're a nation of addicts jeering at the Department of War social media edits. We watch high-definition footage of us toppling dictators abroad like it's a fucking Marvel trailer, while at home we're focused on Sunday's game or the KitchenAid color of the year. And if you want to know just how far the high-tech curtain has fallen, look no further than Waymo, those self-driving cars. We're told these cars are autonomous gods, but the reality is we're being hoodwinked. In early 2026, it came out in a Senate hearing that when these $100,000 robots get stumped by a traffic cone in Phoenix, they reach out to a fleet of response agents in the Philippines for a hint. Think about that. We've automated the American driver into a coffin just to replace him with June, who sits in a humid basement in Manila and provides context over a 300 millisecond lag. It's a $1 trillion industry dressed in a tuxedo, but if you pull back the silk, it's just an underpaid and exploited group of brown people in India and the Asia Pacific in a call center trying to decide if that's a stop sign or a cyclist. We aren't building a future. We're just outsourcing our survival to the lowest bidder and calling it progress. And now we have the final boss, AI, the ultimate hyper-normalization tool. We are entering a post-truth world where the masses can see a video of a politician or a business leader in 4K resolution raping a child, probably eating it too, and they will simply shrug. They'll rationalize it away. They'll give deference to the machine. They'll say, it's a deep fake. The frame rate is off. We would rather believe the world is a hallucination than admit that evil is real. We're moving into a world of AI girlfriends for the lonely and AI stockbrokers for the greedy. We've given the agents control of our brokerages and our social feeds because we're too tired to participate in our own lives anymore. We're handing the keys to the kingdom to a black box and calling it progress. And we're calling it progress. But here's the thing about the frontier. The world is only going to get weirder. We think we can see the crisis coming, but that's actually not how history works. The people in the French Revolution who marched on the Bastille didn't wake up that morning and check their calendars for a revolution. They didn't know the world was about to break. It just arrived. One day, the hyper-normalization ends, and the floor finally gives way. And look, I know, it sounds like a death sentence. It sounds like the Pied fucking Piper, has already won. But if you listen to the deep lore, the stories behind the stories, you realize there's a loophole. The real battle isn't happening on a cable news set or in a server farm in Northern Virginia. Remember, we are living in a subconsciously projected holographic reality. Yes, it's real, but this is all sound frequency and vibration. It's a quantum experience projected from our subconscious, and our thoughts become our reality. This 3D world we're fighting over, it's a mirror. If the screen is flickering and the image is distorted, you don't fix the screen. You fix the projector. The Coon Skin Nation, and I'm talking to you all, isn't defined by a border. It's defined by a frequency. When the masses are losing their minds in the digital mountain, their survivors are the ones who can maintain a peaceful internal composure. That is the ultimate glitch in their system. They want your fear, your outrage, and your deference of doubt. Oh, it's AI. But if you stay grounded in the truth of your own spirit, the deepfake loses their power. Its power. The frequency of the piper can't hook into a mind that is already at peace. We are all going to prevail, not because we have a better algorithm, but because we have a soul. We've been through the winter before, and the frontier has always been won by the ones that knew that the true wilderness is inside of us. Keep your head on a swivel. Keep your heart quiet. And remember, they can't harvest a frequency they can't reach. Welcome back to the Taylor Moore Show. We're going to be just fine. Whoa. Does that pump you up or what? Welcome back to the Taylor Moore Show, folks. You know, I've missed you in the past week. I really have. I missed this. And you guys know what, Coon Skin Nation? It's Chinese New Year. We've left the year of the snake. We've entered the year of the horse. And in honor of that, I am drinking a little green tea today. Unsweetened green tea. One thing about that, though, that's just really fucking grinding my gears is like if you're looking for a caffeinated beverage in a gas station or convenience store, good luck finding one that doesn't have 300 milligrams of caffeine and is going to give you an aneurysm or heart attack when you're driving home from work or driving to work. Unbelievable. As if the Adderall, Vyvanse, SSRIs, and Ozempic weren't enough, we're fighting an additional front war has just emerged. We are being over-caffeinated. And I talked in my monologue about the importance of calming your heart, regulating your body, cultivating a frequency they can't harvest. Stay away from the Olympic levels of caffeine if you want to make it through the greatest show on earth in winter, as I call it. So that was very good. We have a lot on the plate today. Our post-truth world and how do we define ourselves in a world that's post-truth? The time I turned into Snow White, the Chinese New Year, as I've just addressed, and more. But first, a word from our sponsor. Groomer, the final privacy shield. Let's be real for a second. We all have that one folder on our desktop, or that specific search history from 2 a.m. on a Tuesday that would, quite frankly, ruin your funeral. You want to be remembered as a pillar of the community, not as the guy who spent 3 hours researching paternity laws concerning an illegitimate child conceived in Thailand. The Taylor Moore Show is proud to partner with Groomer. It's a sophisticated dead man's switch for the modern sinner. You install our encrypted kernel on your devices, and if you fail to check into our app for 48 hours, Groomer goes to work. It doesn't just wipe your history. That looks suspicious. It replaces it. Within seconds of your confirmed expiration, your browser history is populated with things like top 10 volunteer opportunities or how to be a better listener. Your work folder is instantly swapped with a curated collection of artisanal bread recipes and a PDF of your unfinished but surprisingly wholesome autobiography. Don't let your digital ghost haunt your family's memory of you. Clean up your act before you kick the bucket. Use code COONSKIN for a free deep scrub of all your Reddit accounts. Groomer, because you can't take it with you, but you definitely shouldn't leave it behind. A great sponsor there. Definitely look into that. So we're going to get into some funny stuff today, but I wanted to actually educate Coon Skin Nation on a really interesting topic. And what I'm talking about here are something called the four turnings of history. So this isn't a conspiracy. It's sort of a sociological weather forecasting. In 1987, two historians, William Strauss and Neil Howe, I think that was their names, looked at 500 years of Anglo-American history and found a glitch in the matrix. They realized, I have some notes here too, they realized that history doesn't move in a straight line. It moves in 80-year cycles. And they called these seculum. Each cycle is broken into 4 20-year seasons, or turnings, as they call it. It's driven by generations. Every time a generation ages into a new phase of life, they change the mood of the country. It's that thing like, strong men create good times create weak men, Weak men create bad times create good men, good times create strong men create good times. A bit of a tongue twister. You get what I'm saying. Right now, we're in what Strauss and Howe call the winter. And it's here. Let's take a look at the calendar. So let's start with the first turning. And the first turning happened in 1946 to 1964. So right after World War II. We had just won the big war. And this was when like everyone was wearing the same suit, had the same parted hair. They bought the same house from Sears. They trusted the government. Individualism was dead. The collective was thriving. Excuse me. This was the morning in America, and everyone was sort of drunk on this high. Think, the landscape, identical houses, manicured lawns, new appliances for the kitchen. Your wife was on barbiturates that she bought over the counter at the pharmacy. Life was good. We had just pulverized the greatest supposed evil in the world that the world had ever seen. And the reward was like the suburban utopia. In terms of the psyche, it was all about total conformity. You didn't want to be different. You wanted to be useful. The government was the great architect. We built the interstate highway system during this time. We funded the space race. We trusted the man in the suit at the podium. In reality, though, we sacrificed our individuality for collective security. It was the era of the organized man. If the state told you to hide under the desk for a nuke drill, remember those nuke drills? You fucking did it because the state was your father. The state was your father. Now, after that, we started to enter what's called the second turning. And this was characterized by a rebellion against the high. This was the 60s and 70s, the era of the hippies. The kids realized that the conformity of the post-World War II high was actually a prison. It was, they sought to spiritually riot. It's the summer of love, the civil rights movement, the burning of the draft cards, the Vietnam protests. We stopped caring about institutions and started caring about the self. Okay? A little bit about it. The self became the new God. We didn't want collective security anymore. We wanted personal liberation. It was all about freedom, man. Growing your hair. Then we entered the third turning. Okay? So we had the high of post-World War II, which was the spring, the summer, which was the hippie era, 60s and 70s, and now we enter autumn. Okay? So we had the high, the awakening, and now the unraveling, which is autumn. Institutions, then an era characterized by self, now an era characterized by institutional decay from 1984 to 2008. And during this time, culture is everything. The state is nothing. Everything's for sale. Remember like the 80s on Wall Street? Greed is God. We're tearing down the old structures because we think we don't need them anymore. It's a 20-year party on the deck of the Titanic, Wolf of Wall Street, right? Hyper-capitalism. The neon lights of the 80s and the digital bloom of the 90s. This was peak of American hubris. Remember, we won the Cold War. And we really thought history had ended. We have this new world order we've been enjoying. It's done. A unipolar world with America at the helm. And it was all about individualism. The culture became obsessed with celebrity, with wealth, with technological gadgets. We really stopped being citizens and started becoming consumers. The institutions were hollowed out. You had the revolving door with people at the FDA going to pharmaceutical companies and people at the SEC going to Wall Street, people at the Department of Justice going to law firms, Congress people leaving and getting paid $10 million a year to lobby. It's fucking bullshit, but it's what, remember, actually I shouldn't say it's fucking bullshit because it's part of the cycle. Everything cycles. It's the seasons, the themes, the turnings of history as we're learning here. Now here's the big stuff. So you have the high, the awakening, the unraveling. And then beginning in 2008, we entered the crisis. And this is known as winter, as Howe and Strauss call it. the winter, it starts with a spark. So this was the 2008 crash. Okay. In the last, I'll talk about the last crises we've had. They were the start of World War II. They were the Civil War, the American Revolution. And if you look at this on a temporally in terms of time, it all hits that fourth turning, that winter. American Revolution, Civil War, World War II, 2008 crisis. These are big markings in history. And so the unraveling ends and winter begins. And this is when big wars happen. Okay, I talked about the American Revolution, Civil War, World War II. Those were all fourth turnings. This is the era where the old world is liquidated to make room for something new. And the 2008 crash was really the first frost of winter. Since then, the trust that started decaying in the unraveling has completely vanished. We are now in the final phase of the fourth turning. If we follow these 80-year cycles, the fourth turning is expected to end sometime between, because it's not perfect, but like 2026 and 2030. This is when the ghosts, AI, post-truth, start to take over because the physical institutions have nothing left to offer. And that's what we're in. We're in the fourth turning here. And I want to talk about how we deal with this in a minute. I've said it's all about maintaining that internal platitude and stability, but there is hope. Okay, we just have to continue surfing the quantum wave of it all. Quick word from our new sponsor, Kitty Coin, the behavioral Bitcoin. Let's face it, the traditional allowance system is a failure. You give your kids $10 for mowing the lawn, and 5 minutes later, it's gone on V-Bucks or gas station taquitos. There's no incentive, no market pressure, and zero leverage for you. The Taylor Morris Show is proud to introduce Kitty Coin, the first private, household-only cryptocurrency designed to gamify obedience. With Kitty Coin, you aren't just a parent, you're the central bank. You set the mining rate for chores and the burn rate for bad behavior. Want the dishwasher emptied? That's 500K coins. Forget to feed the dog? That's a 15% wallet tax and a temporary freeze on all high-speed internet assets. Your kids can track their net worth on our proprietary app, watching their sweat equity grow in real time. And because it's a closed-loop ecosystem, they can only cash out for things you control, like 20 minutes of screen time or a single organic orange juice box. But here's the best part. As the founder and CEO of your household, you retain full administrative privileges. If your teenager starts getting a little too entitled, or if you need to clear some household debt, our liquidity rebalance feature allows you to rug pull the entire family at a moment's notice. Watch their faces as years worth of folding laundry vanishes into a digital void because market conditions shifted. Teach them the most important lesson in finance before they even hit middle school. The house always wins. Use code CoonSkin to waive your first minting fee. So thank you for that. Thank you, Kitty Coin. We're really excited about that partnership. But I want to talk about what I think defines our fourth turning, and I think it's truth. I think that's the real crisis. This green tea is actually pretty good. Our fourth turning is going to be defined by a post-truth world. You know, TikTok just unveiled their new AI video thing, and it's literally indistinguishable from real video. The AI is now. It is so good. It's so good. There was that big Substack article that got circulated all around Wall Street and the professional class by a guy who works on AI startups. And he was like, you guys don't even know how good the AI is. Like, people in the know aren't even really in the know. It's getting so good that we are forced to confront a couple things. How do I operate in a world where I can't believe my eyes? How do I operate in a world where I can't believe my eyes? Where the shit on my social media feed is indistinguishable. I can't tell what's real and what's not. To an extent, media literacy works, seeing who published it, things like that. But most people don't have media literacy. Also, in the age of virality, people and quick consumption of information, you see a viral video that's probably fake, but you still interpret it to be real. And we have to put a watermark on our videos we make in Sora and these other platforms. The government doesn't. And not just our American government, but any government with malicious intent. Think about it. The power they wield to now publish a video that could sway political public opinion. I mean, remember Hillary Clinton's email laptop? You can just defer to AI now. The Epstein files, the videos of them sodomizing children, impregnating 11-year-olds. And excuse my vulgarity, but I'm not sorry. What do we believe? I've almost been scammed. Seriously, I've almost been scammed twice in the last 2 months. Not on, and I'm pretty vigilant with this stuff. Phishing emails, all that. But I tried to buy a bow from a guy on TikTok. He's like, I'm getting sick, I'm giving it away. American guy, real TikTok account. And in the videos, I was like, just make sure it's real. Put my name on the sign and show me a video of the bow. And he was able to do that. But I know he did it with AI because I was like, I'll pre-purchase the shipping label. He's like, no, just download Chime and send me the money. No, I'll pay for the shipping label. Dude, you don't get it. Meanwhile, he was giving away a free bow, but he was so insistent on giving it to me. That's when I knew it was a scam. And I didn't do it, but I almost fell for it. The video looked real of the product, folks. Coon Skin Nation. You try to tell other people about this, but they're out there taking Ozempic till their bones disintegrate and their consciousness is going to be uploaded to be my fucking AI girlfriend in 2 years. I was talking to my buddy on Ozempic. I'm like, when you wither away, your consciousness is going to be uploaded into a hard drive, and your one-dimensional purpose is going to be to sexually gratify lonely men in their basements. When we thought Black Mirror was a performance piece or art, no, we've manifested that stuff, folks. It's here. These people try to tell them, but they're glued to the Today Show, trying to solve the case of Nancy Guthrie disappearance. I mean, what the hell is that? Most Gen X moms think the Epstein stuff goes as deep as, he associated with Epstein, or they molested a couple kids. The deeper level, no, he was connected to the 2008 crisis. He had his fingers on that. Bitcoin. And a trust of Epstein collected an $80 million lottery win 2 weeks before his alleged death in Nevada, the Zorro Ranch Trust. He's all over transgender ideology, talking about how they can push that further. Because their god, Baphomet, is the transgender goat-headed god. That's the second level. The third level is like the baby farms and the genetic stuff, and Epstein emailing with all these geneticists about CRISPR and 23andMe, right? Almost like trying to design some sort of race. I mean, it's weird. And listen, this isn't tinfoil hat stuff. Like guys like Tucker Carlson are reporting on this. Say what you want about Tucker Carlson. I think the guy's pretty based. Now that he's not beholden to Fox News, he's like pretty centrist. And he falls into the category of the new political lines are us versus the pedophilic elites. It's not left versus right. Look at Ghislaine Maxwell was astroturfing the leftist world news. It's time to analyze and introspect on the ideas you hold, because to a large extent, they might just be manufactured. And they might be harvesting that vitriol and energy that ought to be directed towards them, but instead is directed towards whether or not you can inject a 3-year-old with hormones. Whether or not I'm a good mom for fucking chopping my 4-year-old's dick off. Please. These people, again, the last category of people you try to tell this to are on a strict regimented diet of red 40, fluoride, and microplastics. And they don't even register what you say. I mean, actual NPCs. Just fluoride. Fluoride that's in all our water supply has been shown to reduce IQ. The Department of Health just came out with this by something like 15%. When George H.W. Bush was in the White House, the fluoride levels were up 200%. it's not informed consent that they put fluoride in the water and whatever, right? People used to think the pizza stuff was conspiracy theory, and now they're like, I owe an apology to the conspiracy theorists. I don't really care. I was down that rabbit hole of human child trafficking 5 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. Everyone told me to shut the fuck up. I don't need an apology. But maintain an open mind, because a lot of these conspiracies are not, they're conspiracies. Conspiracy theory was a term introduced into the American lexicon by the CIA in the wake of JFK's assassination and the Warren Commission. They analyzed the magic bullet theory. And some people were like, hey, I don't really think that makes sense. And CIA was like, New York Times ran 6 articles invalidating invalidating the people who are asking questions by labeling them conspiracy theorists. Whatever. Anyways, I keep saying anyways. I'm going to try and rein that in. With this fourth turning to 2, though, there's an existential crisis of this all. There is. In a world where AI is taking our purpose, so to speak, there's crisis. But I challenge you to ask yourself, if something like AI can take our purpose, was it really our purpose to begin with? Was our purpose really to manage sales pipelines, or to comb through a trove of Gmail emails in the morning, to schedule, to follow up, to circle back, not degrading it, to analyze an Excel spreadsheet, to live in the world of numbers and measure the health of a country or household economically, not by their emotional health or their connection with other people? Well, the stock market's up. Yeah, but people are overdosing on fucking fentanyl, actually. People can't afford groceries, actually. We're deploying mercenary forces like the Delta Force abroad to topple dictators. And people are realizing that our entire government, business leaders, and academic leaders are all pedophiles. But the stock market's ripping. This is the death rattle of an empire. This is what this looks like. This hyper-normalization, the disconnection from truth. But again, back to how do we cultivate ourselves? Okay, if something like AI can replace our purpose, maybe our conception of purpose is misguided. Maybe we're here to create, and this isn't hippy dippy woo woo stuff. Just think about it here. If you can disorient yourself from always being focused on money or career or what my fucking LinkedIn looks like, so I can network with people and shake hands and hold a cocktail in my hand and talk about how good the firm is doing. What the fuck, people? We are spiritual beings incarnated in physical bodies, here to learn and evolve spiritually and emotionally. And you're concerned with the color of your dress or tie is going to be at that biotech networking event where you're going to get a few cards and you're going to follow up on LinkedIn and fucking wear this mask, which is fine because life is a game, but you're going to forget. You're going to forget that it's actually a game. That's the fucking problem. You wear this mask and you forget you're playing a character. Remember, that character is not you. You are a spiritual being incarnated in a physical body, and life is beautiful. Even the bad stuff. Perceived bad stuff. Even the scary stuff. This is like one big wave that's crashing. AI, post-truth world, I don't know what to believe. All the politicians are pedophiles. It's not your job to litigate that or get to the bottom of it. Be conscious of it. But the war is within. You got to surf that quantum wave, baby. Surf that wave. Because you know what? Once we get through this winter, if anything about the last 5 turnings will prove right, and it's a repeatable process, it's been repeatable and observable, we are due for a spring. And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be beautiful. I just know it. I just know it. So we have another ad here. Sorry for all the ads. These aren't, I don't want to spoil it, but as you guys may be catching on, don't skip because these are actually satirical ads that I've spent a lot of time writing, and I think they're pretty funny. This ad is for Kid Prop, the magical escort service. We've all been there. You're a 35-year-old man standing in a 4-hour line for the Little Mermaid ride, wearing a pair of light-up mouse ears and holding a limited edition popcorn bucket. You can feel the eyes of every parent in the park on the back of your head. You aren't a creep. You just really appreciate the technical choreography of an animatronic crab. But try explaining that to security. Stop being the weird adult and start being the involved parent with Kid Prop. We provide Disney adults with high quality, pre vetted children to act as your cover for a day at the park. Our props come in 3 tiers: the silent sleeper, for those who want to be left alone, the enthusiastic pointer, for maximum social legitimacy, and the tantrum pro, for when you need to skip to the front of the guest relations line. Each child is trained in a backstory that matches your specific Disney aesthetic. If you're wearing a Marvel jersey, they know your favorite Avenger. If you're doing a vintage look, they'll call you Father with a disturbing level of 1950s sincerity. With Kid Prop, you can finally cry during the fireworks without people wondering if they should call a social worker. Use code CoonSkin at checkout to get a free I'm with Uncle t-shirt for your rental. Kid Prop, because the Magic Kingdom is for everyone, but looking like a loner is for nobody. And we have a couple testimonies from customers. Derek S. from Orlando, Florida says, I've been a Disney loner for years, and the security guards at Epcot were starting to know me by my first name, and not in a fun way. Last Tuesday, I booked Timmy, a level 2 enthusiastic pointer from Kid Prop. For the first time in a decade, I wasn't the guy lurking near the churro stand. I was just a devoted uncle making memories. We rode Frozen Ever After 6 times, and when I started weeping during Let It Go, people actually patted me on the back instead of moving their strollers away. Timmy even asked for an expensive balloon to make it look like I was being financially drained. It was the most authentic experience of my life. Well, Derek, that's great to hear. Marcus T. from Anaheim, California, says, I wanted to do a Pixar-bounding photo shoot at Hollywood Studios, but as a 280-pound man dressed as Russell from Up, I was getting some very judgmental looks. I rented a Kid Prop silent sleeper, a 4-year-old who can nap through a literal, what did he say? Yeah, literal parade. I pushed him in a rented stroller all day, used his child access pass to bypass the line for Slinky Dog Dash, and didn't have to talk to a single person. He didn't wake up until the valet brought my car around. Kid Prop didn't just save my vacation, they saved my dignity. Well, that really warms my heart. Really does. Honestly, the unsweetened green tea I know it's been around for a while probably, but not a sponsor of the show, just a product I like. I'd really recommend. So I don't want to talk too much about the Epstein files. There's a ton of people already doing it, but here's my advice. Don't just look at the headlines because it's all sort of surface level stuff. You got to go to the sleuths on like X or TikTok or giving primary sources, and then verify those primary sources yourself if you want. If your roots reach hell, your branches can reach heaven. That's why I actually think it's important to contend with the depths of evil and depravity that are out there. Anyways, though, my boss at work was in the Epstein files. I'm not even kidding. He's a GM of a hotel, and he wasn't in the Epstein files for anything bad. That fucking blows. I mean, would make for a great 2 truths and a lie icebreaker, though, right? Yeah, I have 3 kids. I was in the Epstein files, and I shot a bald eagle. That's pretty hard. That's pretty good. Little icebreaker at work. Little Hinge description. But yeah, he was in the Epstein files because a guy was emailing Epstein himself, being like, yeah, you got to book. The GM was working at a different hotel at the time. You got to book with this hotel. Boss's first name, last name is the GM there, and he'll get you situated with a couple rooms. And my boss said, you know what? Epstein actually called me one time, and I spoke to him on the phone. I didn't realize at the time. But this guy was like, I want to land my helicopter at the farm near the hotel. My boss was like, you can't do that anymore. We let it happen 10 years ago. We can't do it. And Epstein apparently was just being a dick, an entitled dick on the phone. So yeah, that's pretty shitty, but pretty funny. Like, That's not that bad. Like if someone, if because you can always be like, look at the Epstein files. He's like, I'm going to sue for defamation, but I'm like, there was nothing defamatory there. You helped a disgraced New York financier, which is all he is, book a couple rooms at a hotel. It's just business as usual, baby. Anyways, said anyways again. Uh, what if all those redacted names and files in the Epstein files are just Stephen Hawking? Like just pictures of Stephen Hawking doing stuff. Like every blacked out name is just Stephen Hawking. Maybe he was the most prolific pedophile in the world. The reality of all this, though, is people are going to forget about the Epstein files and this leak in a couple months. And you're going to be like, no, we're not. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. Think of COVID and the lockdowns and the fascism and tyranny that was all that. People literally wanting to kill people who weren't getting the vaccines. And the vaccine trials being buried for like 20 years. Like we can't look at them. It's like a law. There was no testing. I mean, crazy. And you know what? Exactly. Like no one talks about the ridiculous and absurdity of that anymore. No one's going to talk about the ridiculous and absurdity of this. And that's fine. I mean, if people revolt, that's fine too. Like political systems, much like forests, occasionally need a forest fire to level it so new growth can emerge. You saw that in, I think, Bosnia. Wasn't it the Romanian Revolution? All those Eastern European countries have had revolutions. We've had a revolution. And we are in the age of Aquarius, right? I've talked about this, characterized by enlightenment and revolutionary spirit. Just something to keep in mind. Another thing that I just wanted to mention, so I have a pair of adult Heelys, and I found that as I have gotten, yes, I'm getting more into the Chinese lifestyle. And for those who are just listening, if you're enjoying the podcast, please, right? Rate it 5 stars, subscribe, share it with someone who might enjoy it. Really helps me. And it more than anything, it just knows that I'm on the right track. And because I have, my listenership, I'm grateful for, of course. The more you get involved and comment, the more fun it could be. Remember, this should be a dialogue between us. If there's a topic you want me to rant on, I'll do it, baby. I'm not your trick pony. I'm Davy Crockett, the wearer of the coonskin, but I will oblige and I will help. I will inform the Coon Skin Nation on the stuff that's important. So you just let me know. I used to sell, speaking of things that AI can't replace, I used to sell Cutco knives in high school. And let me tell you, folks, let me tell you, Coon Skin Nation, that was some of the darkest. I got a peek behind the big knife industry and the way it works. So basically, it was a pyramid scheme. My friend recommended me, and of course, he got 10% commission on all my sales by doing so. But you show up, and then they're in this rented, dingy basement of this office building. And the head honcho, this woman, single mother, crippling Marlboro Light 100 addiction, comes out, and she's like, "We're here to sell knives, okay? We're in the business of selling knives, and it's all about making the so she basically gave us all sets of knives, and that was like our arsenal, and basically we're deployed to people how stay-at-home moms, and would be like, can I book a 30-minute appointment with you to sell you on how great these Cutco knives are? The knives are actually amazing, but this woman would be like, you gotta hit your quota, gotta go to the house and make the woman feel like she's seen, okay? I'm telling you, I was turned off. Just hearing this woman talk about knives made me never want to use a knife again. So how in the world she was in command of an army of salespeople that's above my head. And at the time, it was way above my pay grade. But I spent the summer caddying and going to different houses and selling people on these knives. And it was a lot like Napoleon Dynamite when Kip is selling the Tupperware, and you have all these little tricks. Like Kip tried to have Uncle Rico back up over the Tupperware, and it exploded. I never had any failures like that, but there was this one knife that was a butter knife that was sort of shaped, and it was flat and wide. It had a sharp edge, but it was flat and wide so you could spread the butter. And without failure, my move would be to hold the knife up because it was polished. This is so corny. In the face of the housewife and be like, "What do you see here?" She's like, "I see myself." I'm like, "I see a future Cutco customer. I see a future Cutco customer who can't get enough of our knives." The knives are made with A220 steel that's used in aerospace. The rivets on the knife actually went through the blade, and it's in the handle, because a lot of knives have those rivets, but the blade doesn't go all the way through the handle. There are some things I learned, and that I'm sharing with you. If you're in the market for knives, you want a blade that goes all the way down the handle, rivets that are quality, make sure it's good steel. Yeah, that's all I really got. And buy Cutco. Actually, though, Cutco's great. We had scissors that you could cut a penny with. That was actually kind of crazy. Felt a little bit like a magician. There was this other time. I want to talk about the time I became Snow White. So I was at a rehab facility. I was probably in a little bit of psychosis because I would wake up and go to the smoking hut at 5 a.m., right when the sun rose. And I was there with the 65-year-old woman who was she was a basket of all sorts of stuff. But it was great. And I had a pack of cigarettes, and I would smoke like 8 cigarettes before the sun came up. And then I would make my way to the deck. And at the time, I'm regulated now. I'm not on medications or anything like that. I don't have some. I mean, the only thing I'm diagnosed with is Taylor Morris. Like, I don't have any diagnosed ailments, psychological or otherwise. But I was definitely in a drug-induced psychosis where I thought the world was quantum and magic. I mean, all the stuff I talk about now, because we'll get to psychosis another time. I think I've talked about it. I think psychosis is simply when the veil drops, and if you can harness it, it's a magical thing. But anyways, I was smoking cigarettes on the deck. It was at a really nice rehab, and the sun would come up, and I did this thing because I read about it in a book where if you sun gaze, if you stare at the sun, it's somehow good for you. I don't know. But I was staring at the sun. You have to do it when it's rising, sun gazing. And all of a sudden, the sun split into two, and like little koi fish, the yin and yang in a pond, it was spinning around like this. I don't know. It was actually unreal. So I had this app on my phone called Merlin. And I think Cornell developed it. And basically what you can do is you can record nature. It detects what birds or animals you're hearing in nature, pulls them up on a little menu, and then you can frickin' play the song or the chirp of the bird back to it. So you know what I did with this? Is my cigarette was hanging out of my lips. I pull up the app, I'm listening, I'm scanning. What do we pick up? We pick up blue jays. A couple blue jays in the area. And again, it was probably like 6 a.m. like this. The programming didn't start till 8:30. For the next 2.5 hours, I methodically played the chirps and songs of blue jays in the area. Coon Skin Nation, I kid you not. Okay, I was here, about 2 feet away from me was the banister of the deck. After about 30 minutes, one little blue jay lands. Landing right there. And in some ways, I felt energetically connected with this little guy. Like, I was actually becoming Snow White. But I kept my eye on the prize. One is nice, but at Coon Skin Nation, we shoot for more, of course. So I kept chirping and playing, and it was chirping and singing a little bit too. And what do you know? After a little bit of time, another blue jay. So there are 2 blue jays now with me. This is all real, hand to God. Then I'm like, all right, so I've harvested these blue jays here. They're sitting on this perch. I had also picked up a cardinal. Let's see what the cardinal's up to. Play a little cardinal song. This was all about intuition and feeling. I didn't know when to play the songs in chirps except for listening into my body and my mind. Play the song. Now a little chirp. Wait a couple seconds. Chirp, chirp. Chirp, 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 chirp. Like I'm a cardinal in crisis. Chirp, 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 chirp. Or I'm a cardinal mating. After a little bit of time, in the tree in front of me comes a cardinal. Perches there. So I have 2 blue jays and a cardinal. This is about an hour and a half in. I'm locked the fuck in. Of course, replenishing my cigarette, right? Taking the one that's almost burnt, lighting the new one, keeping it going. Constant. At this point, that's my life force energy. So I'm playing the song. Chirp, chirp, chirp. And after a little bit, what do you know? Another blue jay comes and lands. And this scene is amazing. I have 3 blue jays and a cardinal here. And all I do is sit and I just feel so connected to the universe. Like this I don't know if this was psychosis. I think it was inherently spiritual. A million ways to skin a cat. A clinician may call it psychosis. A spirit, an ascended master would call this a spiritual awakening, a kundalini awakening. And I just felt connected to the universe and connected to these little birds. I had commanded them. I was connected to them. And it was just a beautiful thing. And after a while, I returned to sun gazing. I said goodbye to the birds. And I was sun gazing, and the sun was getting a little too high. And the head psychologist came out. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm sun gazing." And he's like, "Can we come and talk?" So, yeah. And he's like, "Why were you staring? You know, that can damage your eyes." And I was like, "Well, why did God give us eyes and put the sun there if we can't stare at it?" Which honestly, it was a little bit defiant, but to this day, I don't necessarily dismiss that line of thinking. Why were we given eyes if we can't look at the sun? Why are we told not to look at the sun? It's like, I don't really wear sunscreen. The universe was meticulously created. Why is there a sun if we're not supposed to be exposed to it? In other news, Obama came out saying aliens existed. Again, we're in the fourth turning winter. Shit's going to get crazy. We sort of already knew this. The question is, we'll get into aliens, I think, next episode or the episode after. Let me know. And again, if you're liking this episode, please rate, share it with someone, spread the good word. Aliens, though, are they spiritual entities, right? Why are there hieroglyphs depicting these spiritual beings? I think they're interdimensional creatures. That's why in some of these bunkers and the whistleblowers, where they're kept deep underground military bases, they're described as Faraday cages. Faraday bags for your phone where EMF, electromagnetic frequency, can't get in and out. Well, these entities, I think, are electromagnetic entities. So if you trap them in a Faraday cage, that energy has nowhere to go. The other thing, this was really good news. You can now pay for an OnlyFans subscription with a buy now, pay later. Clearly, the direction the country's heading in is just great. Again, to that I say more Ozempic, more Adderall. I see all these people on gosh, I got diagnosed with ADHD, inattentive. I was on Vyvanse for a bit, probably like 2 years. I stopped. And like all these people are like, I got prescribed with Vyvanse or Adderall. Like, this is what it must feel to be normal. It's like, no, that's just what it feels like to be on amphetamines. Like, after on it for a while, you don't get that feeling. And you develop a tolerance to amphetamines. Like, ADHD is not a disorder. Back when we foraged and were a nomadic people, the people with ADHD were the ones sort of fucking around, maybe naked, like up in the hills, being like, "Oh, look at this berry tree I found. Look at this little cave." Like, just exploring. That's why I've come to terms with the fact that I'm probably not suited for a corporate environment, if you couldn't tell. The coonskin hat and the recounting tales of psychosis when I became Snow White. I'm a creator. Also, in the age of AI, what's our purpose? Our purpose is to create. However that looks for you, but it's to express ourselves, because that is the only thing definitively that no one can take away. The expression of you. The true expression of you. But the OnlyFans and Klarna thing is fucked. I not my place. I'm here to be a social commentator. But I empathize with the line of thinking that like gambling should not be advertised. OnlyFans should not be advertised. We should get rid of the buy now, pay later. It's predatory. We're just going to all become AI Ozempified debt slaves with digital currency. I don't know. Hey, but spring is coming, so it's going to be all right. I had some thoughts about funny ways to die. I think instead of hospice care, it'd be kind of cool, like if you're elderly, to be strapped into a hang glider and just sent over the horizon. Your family can track you with a little GPS tracker, or maybe there's a little GoPro so they can see your final moments, but over the horizon you go. They also do those burial things where people can be buried as trees. You can be buried as a tree. What I'm thinking is I would like to be buried as, I don't drink anymore, but maybe like a lime tree. So the Coon Skin Nation, so my boys can take tequila shots with me. Or a mango tree, or an orange tree, so my grandchildren can drink Grandpa's orange juice with breakfast. It's pretty interesting. So we have a lot of good stuff coming up. We're about to move into the segment of the show, the Frontier segment, where we go through some cool things online and I screen share. Before we get to that, just a final word from our last sponsor of today's episode, Collateral, the youthful labor credit line. Speaking of Klarna, Buy Now, Pay Later, and OnlyFans. Life is expensive. Between the rising cost of eggs and that third mortgage, sometimes you just need a little liquidity to get you through the weekend. But why go to a bank and deal with credit scores when you have an untapped pool of low-skilled labor sitting right there on your sofa playing video games? The Taylor Moore Show is proud to introduce Collateral, the only payday loan service that lets you leverage your greatest assets, your children. The process is simple. You need $5,000 for a jet ski? Just upload your kid's height, weight, and lung capacity to our app. We'll issue you an instant cash advance, and in exchange, your little investment gets a temporary, all-expenses-paid internship at one of our partner extraction sites in the Appalachian Basin. They're going to be mining. It's a win-win. You get the cash you need today, and your child gets a head start on a career in the energy sector. They'll learn the value of a hard day's work, the mechanics of a pickaxe, and the importance of a well-fitted respirator. And don't worry, if you pay back the loan within 30 days, we'll return your child to a neutral drop-off point, usually a suburban Denny's, with only a light coating of soot and a newfound respect for authority. Collateral, because your kids should be doing more for the family than just existing. We're proud to be partners with Collateral. So we're going to do a screen share here, folks. That's pretty cool. So let's take a look at the first video here. This is a guy who won nearly $600,000 betting on CCTV footage. And you're basically betting on how many cars cross a certain point in the CCTV footage over a certain amount of time.
Betting on traffic control cams. It's Degenerate, dude. We got a red light coming up. Please, 8. Yeah. Okay, it didn't detect that one for some reason. Now it did. Yes! Yes! I got it! 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 Wow!
Let's fucking go! Let's fucking go! Let's fucking
exactly
go.
14! Exactly! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my god! Oh my goodness, dude! Guys, I bet on exactly how many cars went past the line. It was 14!
Yeah, so you just bet $20,000 to win $362,000 on CCTV. There's like a chat of people watching. I mean, I don't really. What can one say? You know, this is pretty creepy. So this is a new AI called Geospy. Take a look at their intro video, and then I'm going to show you how it works. It basically can look at a photo. It can look at a photo of me here in this room, and using AI, know exactly what this house is and the address, because it looks at like real estate listings, or a picture of someone in a park or forest. It can geolocate all of that.
Well, Larry, just to give you an idea of how fentanyl has created this crisis on San Francisco streets.
Officers killed a man who shot someone in the face multiple times. Surveillance cameras
responding to the cut.
A
call to action outside OpenAI office.
San Francisco.
WBC's Tiffany Champ reports the son of their is also on his voice.
Hundreds took to the streets in this scorching heat.
Shelby, what is Geospy? Tell us about this program.
Okay, so this is a real interesting one, Roman.
AI for Safer America. That sounds trustworthy. Well, let's try a demo. Okay. So try demo. Experience or different search capabilities with sample images. Okay. So like I upload an image of me and my friend's kitchen. Boom. Huh. It knows the exact kitchen. Look at that. And that's been painted over. Oh my gosh. View on map. Look at that. That is so unbelievably scary. Street targeting. A picture of me on vacation. For example. Israel. Oh my gosh, guys. Right there. Oh my gosh. So, like, surveillance is just everywhere. Next, I want to talk about the bullshit that is Hellen Keller and Stephen Hawking. These are two videos of... This video is of Hellen Keller with her translator interpreting for her. And you know they just came out and said that Hellen Keller wasn't actually fully blind and deaf? Watch this.
She's Miss Hellen Keller. She does not see the room or the book that she's reading. She sees nothing. She does not hear the rustling of the curtains behind her. She hears nothing. She is deaf and blind. But if you enter a room, she will know it. Your lightest footfall will tell her you are coming. She will even tell with eyes and ears, and are seen lips forming one.
It is not blindness or deafness that bring me my darkest hours. It is the attitude, disappointment in not being able to speak normally. It is the acute disappointment in not being able to speak.
I've seen enough. That is, I'm sorry, like that is not real. That is a total PsyOp. And watch, look at the similarities with Stephen Hawking.
I think I knew from about the age of 9 or 10 that I wanted to be a scientist. Most of my activities, like playing with model fireworks, or model railways, or playing complicated games, was aimed in some way at finding out how the world worked around me.
So in a sense, you went from modeling planes to modeling the universe.
I was never very good with my hands, and my models did not work very well.
All right, thank you. These are PsyOps. They got these people famous. Stephen Hawking with his little, I wanted to go to Epstein Island. I wouldn't be surprised if the dude can walk and talk. And Hellen Keller. And here's the thing. Before you come at me, keep an open mind. Through Hellen Keller like apparently authored a bunch of papers on politics and the economy that became prevalent because of who Hellen Keller was. Stephen Hawking too. These theories on metaphysics were all through Stephen Hawking. It's not out of the realm of possibility that these characters were used to launder ideas through their fame that they got by having these apparent ailments. I don't know how, like, just listen.
But I was always interested in models that I could control. And I think that nowadays I have translated that into studying physics.
Look at that guy nodding along like, like this isn't all fucking ridiculous. Like I'm not talking, like there's a vegetable in the wheelchair and a guy speaking perfect King's English, translating him. No, thank you. The other thing I wanted to talk about is there are these people online who are teaching their dogs and pigs how to talk using buttons. We'll just show a little bit of this.
Buttons to communicate, they're right back here as part of...
She looks like a peach, doesn't she? Yeah.
A study through the Comparative Cognition Lab at UCSD. So when we first brought Bunny home, I had an outside button waiting by the door for her with sort of no expectation. Building trust takes a really long time. The first part of the interaction, walked up to me and placed her left paw, understanding what she's trying to say, which is really fascinating to me. Scritches go? Do you want scritches?
She's teaching her dog how to talk, which is like, please don't. If the Coon Skin Nation ever takes political power, if you teach your dog how to talk using buttons, you will be put to death immediately. Because what happens? Well, Bunny, the owner taught the dog English. I have this news story with soundboard buttons, and the dog ended up requiring antidepressants. A sheepadoodle named Bunny became famous after her owner taught her words using soundboard buttons. At first, it was simple needs like food or play. Over time, Bunny learned more than 100 words and began combining them. Videos showed her forming phrases that felt emotional and thoughtful, leaving many viewers amazed and confused. Things took a serious turn when Bunny appeared to ask questions about herself and the world. Eek. She pressed buttons like who, why, and dog in ways that felt deeply personal. Some clips showed her describing dreams and sadness. Experts say dogs are smart, but many warned people not to project human thoughts onto animal behavior. Bunny's owner later shared that the dog showed signs of anxiety and was treated by a vet, and she was put on antidepressants. That dog's got to listen to the Taylor Morris show and be part of Coon Skin Nation. I'll extend an honorary degree because I get it. We're all the dog pushing buttons, being like, purpose, what? AI, consciousness, Ozempic, SSRI, gambling, OnlyFans, AI girlfriend, debt, buy now, pay later. What is life? I get it, Bunny. I get it. And the last thing I wanted to show, and just more about the degeneracy of America, is there's actually a new way to play. I don't know if you guys heard about this, but there's a gaming headset that has a dab pen cartridge right where the microphone usually goes. So you can just dab pen yourself into Psychosis while playing Call of Duty or GTA 6. Wow. Men used to build empires. And now we've been reduced to dab pen headsets, jerking off to OnlyFans girls who pretend they have interest in you but don't, and just are there to suck your bank account, load up on SSRIs, become like sexual eunuchs, sexually castrate ourselves with those medications, and just defer to AI and deepfakes while we discover that the world is pedophiles. But the battle's within. It's going to be okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Coon Skin Nation, that concludes today's episode of The Taylor Morris Show. It's been an absolute treat. If you enjoyed the episode, please rate on Spotify, like on YouTube, subscribe, share, comment your thoughts. I love you all. Until next week, stay curious, remain fierce, and regulate yourself.